Chair.
I now call to order the Standing Finance Committee of Monday, January 14, 2019. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 82, 6, and 87, this meeting of the Standing Finance Committee was convened to consider proposals for the variation of appropriation for fiscal year 2018. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 45.1, the speaking time for Standing Finance Committee shall not exceed 5 minutes on each intervention. The proposals for variations which constitute decreases will be considered first, then proposals for variations which are increases. Thereafter, the proposals for write-off of losses for fiscal 2018 shall be considered. The procedure shall be as follows. The head and the amount to be varied will be announced. The minister with responsibility will then be invited to explain the purpose for the variation. The chair shall then propose the question that the head be varied. Members may then seek clarification from the minister. Once this is concluded, the chairman will then put the question that the sum to be varied be approved. The procedure will be repeated for each head. A similar procedure will be followed for the approval of the write-off of losses. This committee is being asked to note that the Minister of Finance has approved the transfer of funds in the sum of $1,457,501,437 between subheads under the same head of expenditure for fiscal year 2017, and transfer funds in the sum of $1,183,532,006 between subheads under the same head of expenditure for fiscal year 2018. These transfers do not require the approval of the committee. We shall now go to the variations. As we said, we will consider the decreases. Member for point of view.
Thank you. Just for some clarification as we continue. When members seek clarification on certain heads and the response might not be readily available today, what sort of time frame? Because I know Friday we would be debating.
I had hoped that we can have the answers by Wednesday. That's the plan. So once the information is readily available, it will be provided to the Parliament by Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, we shall now consider the proposals for variation for fiscal year 2018. The proposals for decreases will be considered first, followed by the proposals for increases. Decreases. Honorable members, we shall now consider the proposal for decreases for fiscal year 2018. Head 22, Ministry of National Security. Head 22, Ministry of National Security, a decrease of $100 million. I will now invite the Minister of National Security to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Ministry of National Security, as is well known, is the ministry with the responsibility for the safety and security of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, overseeing a number of arms of national security, including Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, probation officers, lifeguards, the prison service, the immigration, fire services. And whilst there is a constitutional independence to an extent with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, they also operate under the Ministry of National Security. Those are the main heads, ma'am.
Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And Minister, thank you for reminding us of the nature of the Ministry of National Security. But Minister, this seems to be a specific matter of the reduction of $100 million under the subheading Rent Lease Vehicles Equipment, but dealing specifically with the CCTV cameras. Just a few short questions that you could probably answer. Now, are we interpreting this correctly, that you are going to decrease by $100 million for the provision of CCTV because a contract expired and was not renewed in time, one? And secondly, I just wanted for you to give a brief, you can do that now or if you prefer in writing, as to the coverage of CCTV cameras throughout the country. I don't need details as to where cameras are, but to what extent, like what percentage may be operational, what percentage you may have to repair, because we have had this problem in the past where incidents take place, criminal incidents and others, and you look for the CCTV camera, you have cameras in the vicinity, but we are told at times that they are not operational or they are defective, they were not fixed or repaired and so on. So just to give us an idea, either now or in writing, as to the percentage really, how much cameras are up, how much are operational, what percentage are not operational, not where they are or anything like that, and whether action has been taken at the level of the Ministry of National Security in collaboration with the relevant law enforcement agency to have some system for repair quickly. Basically, there's the question.
Madam Chairman, I would just like, sorry, Minister of National Security, I would just like clarification. This particular item, the explanation given in the notes that are before members of Parliament is that the contract has expired and the ministry is awaiting Cabinet's approval for a new contract. Therefore, I'm wondering about the relevance of the question asked by the member for Oropouche East. Can't remember if it's East or West. And could I get a ruling from you on that? Is this the type of question that is applicable under the standing orders to this reduction, which is based on Cabinet approval of a contract?
Okay, so as far as repairs, location or numbers, amounts or so on, it is not a relevant question based on the item and the nature of the variation. I had allowed it because it seems that the minister was willing.
He may not have known.
But this is something I guess the member can get by another form of interrogation. Okay, member for
Thank you.
Naparima.
Thank you.
There you go.
Chair, given the critical nature of the challenges we face with national security, and given the importance of the CCTV coverage, the question is why it is that appropriate mechanisms were put in place beforehand to ensure that the contract was renewed in time, to ensure continuous coverage of CCTV, Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister of National
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, when we came in as an administration, we found that a contract had been entered into with TSTT that was not a contract that was favorable by any stretch of the imagination to taxpayers. In fact, when we did the mathematics and we worked out the cost per camera, it was phenomenally more expensive than it should have been. So at the National Security Council, we took a decision not to renew the contract. We gave instructions that before the contract expired, there should be a competitive RFP process undertaken for the continuation and upgrade of CCTV cameras. Unfortunately, that was not done. And what we have done is we took steps to have the contract terminated, put on a month-to-month basis, and we have gone out for RFP that is currently being evaluated for us to award a contract for the improvement of the CCTV camera system, the enhancement of the CCTV camera system, but more importantly, to ensure that taxpayers get value for money. The costing that had been entered into previous to us was working out in some instances to between $14,000 and $11,000 a camera a month, whereas there was another provider, Columbus Communications, that was doing a certain sector of cameras for $3,000 a month. So just on that comparison alone, as the National Security Council, we decided not to renew the contract. So this sum of money is really a sum of credit whilst that is being worked out.
Supplemental, Member for Naparima.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Given the fact that when you came into power in September 2015, you identified that the arrangement was significant, was expensive. Why, in 3 years, did you not have procedures and systems in place, knowing full well that you were not going to renew the contract, so that we would not be in the position we are in today?
Chair, is first of all not factually correct to say that we were aware of it when we came into office, because of course when we came into office the CCTV camera system was continual and operating. It is when it came time close to renewal and we asked to look at it and to do an assessment, and we asked for a report on it, that this was discovered. As soon as that was found out, we immediately put things in place. And I think to date, we've actually saved a few $100 million on that, the decisions that we took not to pursue it, not to pursue the continuation of this particular arrangement.
Member for Kamuta Mansinilla.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask, in light of all that the Minister has indicated, what is the current status of the approval for the CCTV coverage at the Cabinet's level? Is it that you plan to move on to another contract? Is there a procurement request in place? I don't know, because at the end of the day, we can't have proper management of our security system without the CCTV in operation. So what is in fact happening right now?
Okay, thank you. As I had indicated, well, first of all, let me say that the CCTV camera system is operational and is currently in use and being utilized and fully functional. When I say fully functional, there is a percentage of cameras that are continuously needing to be maintained, that may not be working, etc. I think that is somewhere around 15%. What is happening is exactly what I just said. We went out for procurement. There were certain companies, I think about 8 of them, selected to put in competitive tenders. Those tenders are currently being evaluated for the improvement and enhancement of the CCTV camera system.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, you indicated that the Cabinet was of the view that you were not getting value for money on the basis of this contract. Minister, are you aware that this contract was entered into by the previous PNM administration, and the People's Partnership, it was merely a continuum? Yeah. So that therefore, I just want to clarify that for purposes of the record.
Actually, ma'am, if I may.
Sure.
CCTV camera systems in Trinidad and Tobago initially started under PNM regime when there were those 2 conferences, the CHOGM conference as well as the Summit of Americas. And that is where it started from. So he's right. The member for Chaguanas West is right. It started under PNM regime. But having said that, the escalation in cost was under the UNC regime. There's no doubt about that. The UNC regime took a conscious decision to increase the cost per camera in an unjustifiable way, in our opinion.
Member for Chaguanas West, supplemental.
Yeah. Madam Chair, increase the cost to increase the coverage that increased the cost. But this was between one state enterprise and another state enterprise. Madam Speaker, I just want
to answer that question, Madam Chair, he asked a question. to increase the cost, and as I just said, increasing the cost per camera, not by coverage, because the cost per camera agreed to under the UNC regime ranged from $14,000 a camera to $11,000 a camera, where there's a comparable cost by a similar service provider of $3,000 a camera per month.
Okay. Member for Barataria-San
Just one question, well, two questions. Number one, would there be one supplier for the total country, or it would be regional suppliers? Two, the type of camera that is going to be used for 3,000, is it equivalent to the camera that was being placed for 15,000 based on the HD significant finding processes? And two, would private individuals be allowed to place cameras where they are not placed and link it to the general system?
Okay, so I'll allow the first two questions.
Okay.
Right? You counted them as two, but there were three, so I'll allow the first two.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the evaluations and the tenders that have been put in, are currently before an evaluation committee. So at our level, we don't know what has been put in. What we did ask for in our RFP were best in class, what is state in the art, and as I say, an enhancement of what exists, because a lot of the cameras that exist, well, not a lot, some of the cameras that existed are outdated technology. So we've asked for an update in technology, an enhancement of the system, and a wider coverage. But we left it open for persons to put in their tenders how they would expect to cover it. I think that answers both 1 and 2.
Member for Orupuchis.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister, for this explanation. Just for absolute clarification, the current status, because you said the cameras are operational, by and large, notwithstanding a 15% more or less, that need repairing at all times. The current arrangement, as I understand you to be saying, it is on a month-by-month basis, because you, having discovered that you were not getting value for money, took steps to have another provider that may be more efficient and less costly. That arrangement has been in place on a month-to-month basis, can I say, from July 2017 to today. On that month-by-month arrangement, is that also with TSTT, and is that also at the same cost that was contractual before?
The vast majority of camera systems on the national CCTV grid are provided by TSTT at this time. So yes, it's a continuation. One of the, I wouldn't call it a dispute as yet, but one of the issues that is being raised with TSTT is that the payments on a month-to-month basis will not be at the prevailing rates, that were the prevailing agreed contractual rates, but rather that would be on a value for money and a quantum merit basis. So that is one of the conversations currently taking place with TSTT. So to answer you, no, we have not accepted the continuum of cost at the previous contractual rates.
So you are confirming that since July 1st, 2017 to January 2019, the monthly cost has indeed reduced?
The monthly cost is currently being negotiated.
Or is being negotiated, it has not been reduced as yet?
We have refused to pay the previous cost.
You refuse to pay TSTT?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Member for Tabakit.
My colleague asked the question that the vote asked, but what I'm saying, then under law, don't you have a legal obligation to pay the existing contract rates rather than what you refuse to pay in your own estimation?
No. On a month-to-month basis, you could argue it's on a quantum merit.
Member for Caroni East.
Thank you for all the explanations you're giving. As of now, would you say that there are varied type of providers there are various providers providing the CCTV coverage? With various providers, are you able, from a national security standpoint, to be able to coalesce all those providers' cameras to bring it under one main street?
Chairman?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, but member for Caroni East, and for the guidance of all of us, that sort of question is really outside the ambit of what our remit is here today. Member for Chaguanas West.
Madam Chair, Honourable Minister, there has always been a challenge between the live analysis of the CCTV and the deployment on the ground. Have you put measures in place so as to further enhance that?
That
Member,
question
again?
also out of order.
Okay,
Ma'am.
fine.
That is out of
Okay,
order.
fine. I want to
You have another
supplement.
question?
Yes.
Yes?
Minister, you indicated that you have gone out for an RFP, request for proposal for the best in class, outlining the specifications as to what is required for the CCTV because of the considerable sum of $100 million on an annual basis. Why didn't you take that approach with respect to the acquisition of vessels for the Coast Guard?
Chairman,
Again,
out of order.
Right. Okay. Member for Oropuchis.
Madam Speaker, just for the public record, I wanted to ask the Minister, given this revelation that the government believed that TSTT in particular had been providing a service and goods and services and it was over cost and you were not getting value for money, is the government also contemplating suing TSTT as you did other
Madam
contractors
Chairman,
who
question
provided
out of order.
service that you believed were in
Out of
excess
order.
of the cost, for example, road contractors?
Out of order.
For Oropuchis. Again, I can't allow that question. Member for Naparima.
Madam Chair, Minister, you indicated in your response to an earlier question I'd asked that you were not aware of the exorbitant prices until the contract came for renewal. The information we have is that it came for renewal or the contract expired in July the 1st, 2017. So between July the 1st, 2017 to now, which is approximately 19 months, could you give us an idea of the timelines involved? For example, when you went for, you were aware that the contract had expired on July the 1st, 2017, you were aware. You were aware that the price was exorbitant and you were going into a new arrangement. And so at that point on July the 1st, what is the timeline from then to now to give us a sense that you have acted expeditiously in the situation?
Again,
Out of order.
Again, member, I can't allow that question under the remit of what we are doing. Member for Coover South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Minister, could you, based on this expiration of the contract and the relationship between the Ministry and TSTT, how much money is owed to TSTT at this point in time?
That's in dispute.
Member for Caroni Central.
Yes. Could I ask, Minister, will TSTT have an opportunity to apply under the RFP?
Yes.
Okay.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 22, Ministry of National Security, be decreased by the sum of $100 million. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 22, Ministry of National Security, has been varied by a decrease in the sum of $100 million. I wish to thank the Minister of National Security and his team. Head 28, Ministry of Health. Head 28, Ministry of Health, a decrease of $211 million. I will now invite the Minister of Health to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Ministry of Health is responsible for the administration of approximately 10 hospitals of varying specialities across the country, approximately 110 health centers. Madam Chair, we estimate at the Ministry of Health that together between the hospitals and the health centers, we conduct approximately 1.5 to 2 million patient interactions per year. That is not patient seen because you have a population of 1.3. One patient may be seen several times per year. This is a phenomenal number, between 1.5 to 2 million patient interactions. And for that, I want to sincerely thank all healthcare workers for the excellent work that they have been doing, and I stand ready to answer any questions.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 28, Ministry of Health, be varied by a decrease in the sum of $211 million. Member for Caroni East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, there obviously is a rationalization of the drug issue. Could you indicate how this rationalization took place to bring it down from 730 to 580 in terms of what were some of the main factors that determined that?
Thank you very much, and that's an excellent question. One would admit that over the years, the national drug formulary galloped out of control because there was no rational put. What we have done, we have targeted the main areas of specialities, for instance, oncology, central nervous system, HIV/AIDS, which takes up the bulk of the formulary. We set up a team under the chief medical officer in conjunction with specialists recommended by the Trinidad and Tobago Medical Association, plus the specialists at the RHAs to rationalize the drug supply system. It is because of that process, which can stand scrutiny, we have been able to substantially decrease the formulary from approximately 730 to 580. May I also add, 580 is still above WHO recommendations. And we are moving slowly to WHO recommendations. But we are not going to do it cold turkey because the system will rebel. The system will collapse if we try to do it overnight.
Follow up on it? Yeah. Minister, the CDAP drugs which you had spoken about in Parliament that you were going to rationalize.
Yes.
Have you made changes to the type of drugs that are being dispensed now by CDAP as opposed to what was originally there?
You would remember, honorable member, I spoke specifically about 2 drugs, one to treat diabetes, one to treat hypertension, and I'm happy to report that we took those off completely and substituted it with other drugs.
But with other drugs of a better quality?
Better quality, yes. And the feedback we are getting so far is that patients are being better controlled.
Member for Faizabad.
Madam Chair, Minister, can you provide us perhaps in writing with a list of the 150 drugs that were removed from the formulary?
Yes.
And the second question regards the purchasing facility through PAHO. Can you perhaps indicate what sort of percentage decrease in the prices you would achieve for those drugs?
So I can assist you with that now. We are making use of the PAHO Strategic Fund much more in the past 2 years, especially in the area of HIV antiretrovirals. Because we have done that, we have been able to accomplish 2 things. One, a significant increase in the amount of drugs as we seek to achieve our 90-90-90 targets by 2020. And 2, we have been able to save this country in the area of HIV drugs alone close to $73 million by using the strategic fund and bypassing the normal tender procedures.
Can you provide, again, perhaps in writing, a list of what drugs might be available?
I will do that for you, yes. Thank you very much.
And again, to come back to the percentage, I know you quoted a figure, but in terms of the percentage on a drug-for-drug basis, can you perhaps indicate?
I will get that for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member for Barataria-Sanwan.
Minister, just 2 questions. If there is an increase in the amount of HIV drugs that are being obtained from PAHO, as you just said, is there an increase in the HIV amount of people with HIV in Trinidad and Tobago? That's one. If there's an increase in drugs being used, is this correlated with the increase in HIV infections? And 2, the rationalization of the formulary list. Could you give us an indication what year did this begin?
Sure. So let's deal with the first question first. To achieve the 90-90-90 targets, we have significantly increased our testing because we estimate there are about 11,500 persons in Trinidad and Tobago with the virus. Of that, we currently have about close to 80% of those who know their status. So as we take up the amount of people who know their status, we have to provide more drugs. So that's part of the rationale for doing that. And the second part is, just remind me, please, the second part of your question.
The year the rationalization of the formulary began.
I don't know the exact year. What I can tell you, since becoming Minister of Health, it was significantly accelerated. And what we did also, for the first time, we actually banned advocates for particular drugs from appearing before the committees. That was never done before. So decisions to put a drug on a formulary is objectively based.
Can I get a supplemental?
I want you to move on. I'll bring it back. Please.
It's on the way, it was on what the minister just said.
All right, go ahead, Member for Baratory Sanwan.
The amount of HIV drugs that have been increased, were there people then in this country that were not being treated and had HIV infestation?
No, what I said was there were people who were possibly HIV positive but did not know their status. When I came into office, and I have the figures, to achieve 1990 targets, we had to significantly ramp up testing, and I will compliment you. You did that. But to achieve the 1990 targets, we have to significantly ramp up testing again and encourage people to come and get tested. Because if we don't do that and we fail at getting 90% of 11,500 who we believe have the virus but don't know their status, then we would not achieve our targets.
Thank you.
Patabaki.
Thank you. Minister, in the rationalization of the formulary list from 730 to 580, yesterday there was a report in the newspaper of patients, families having to go to private drugstores to buy drugs for the treatment of H1N1 cases. Is this rationalization a cause, or what is causing people to have to go and buy drugs privately to be used in the public hospitals?
The issue of H1N1, you can do this two ways. One, via vaccines, which we have provided free of charge. If a patient has symptoms of headache and fever and they want to go and buy paracetamol privately, fine.
Mr. Minister, hold on.
So what we do at the health centers, we will provide you with the vaccines absolutely free of charge. If there's a need to get antipyretics, we give you that. But if a patient goes to a private physician or prefers to go to a pharmacy, we can't stop that.
No, I'm talking about a public hospital in yesterday's Guardian. There are 3 patients
Madam Chairman,
from one family.
Just a minute.
And they've been asked to go and buy drugs at $44 per tablet.
Minister, 1
to the
minute.
Standing Finance Committee. It's a finance matter, not an operational matter in the public health sector. Madam Chairman, could I get a ruling on that, please? That question is out of order.
Minister, just because it's something in the public domain, and I would allow it. Member for Tabet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you. The reality is that it was reported in the newspaper. 3 patients in the hospital, one who said they can't even breathe. And the families reported publicly that they were asked by the hospital authorities to go and buy this drug at $44 per tablet, which is not available in the hospital. All I'm asking, is this as a result of the way you have done the reformulation?
Absolutely
not.
not.
Then why are there no drugs?
Because the drug to treat that, a question was asked in Parliament on Friday on Tamiflu. The member for Barataria Sanwan asked it. And I made it publicly known there is more than enough Tamiflu in the country.
What drug?
People have to go to the public facilities, they will be given a prescription for Tamiflu, and it's available. If somebody decides to go privately, that's their right or that's their concern.
Member for Kamuta Manzanilla.
Just a follow-up to, really and honestly, just to ask a question. Sure. How will it decrease in the drugs, the 150 drugs that were ultimately removed? How will it impact upon the patients who depend on these drugs?
So the impact is going to be a positive impact. Let me tell you what used to happen to the formulary. As the 3 doctors across me will know. You will have a class of drugs, let's say angiotensin 2 inhibitors to treat high blood pressure. What would happen is that each drug company will pay an advocate to get their particular drug on the formulary. And the member for Clarendon East is nodding his head. And then you have duplication, triplication, and you will have 4 and 5 drugs doing the same thing. So your money has to be spent to buy 4 or 5 brand names. What we have done is says, no, we will put 2 or 3 drugs per category. Therefore, we can guarantee the supply of drugs per category, and the member of Clarendon East knows exactly what I'm speaking about. So that is part of the rationalization, so that you can guarantee patients a consistent supply of cost-effective pharmaceuticals throughout the year.
Member for Shogunas.
Thank you.
Shogunas West, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Could the minister indicate as to the listing of the suppliers of pharmaceuticals to the ministry?
That has already been provided through a previous standing finance committee, so it's a matter of public record now.
Member for Caroni East.
Minister, did this rationalization that is written about here, did it affect significantly the purchase and the inadequacy of some of the first-line chemotherapeutic oncologic agents?
No, it didn't.
Not going to allow that.
No, madam, is it because the
Member?
the terminology is not a pharmaceutical drugs for oncology patients?
Member for Faisabad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, if I could direct your attention to
Bad.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, if I could direct your attention to the item Regional Health Authority, 26 million, and to ask you two questions. One with regards to the recruitment and selection process for...
Around me.
Right. We're on the same item, right? RHA, 26 million.
If you can get your members to settle down, I could hear.
Yeah. Minister, so RHA Regional Health Authority, 26 million. Two questions under that allocation. The process for doctors and nurses from Cuba, the recruitment process,
Yes.
You've had some delays. Can you indicate how many vacancies are affected or still to be filled by these delays? And the second question, with regards to the claims arising from legal matters that have not been finalized, can you indicate the number of legal matters that are outstanding?
That figure we will get for you in writing and hopefully present it to you on Wednesday. But as far as the Cubans are concerned, some have already arrived. I think we got in an initial batch of over 100.
All right, can you indicate then how many you were hoping to recruit? So how many outstanding?
The original cabinet note spoke to about 200 plus. So you're about 50% there or more by now.
What's sub-item 04?
04, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead.
00904?
Yes, I'm sorry, ma'am. Are we going down in particular order?
No, I just wanted
Yes,
to know where...
yes,
where
00.
We just wouldn't talk back, eh?
Sorry? No, it's open. It's open. It's open.
We're okay. Yes,
open.
it's all right.
Yeah.
We said nothing about that in the procedure. Please go on, member for Faisabad.
That's it for now, madam.
Yeah. Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, just to go back to a comment that you made with respect to the increase in drugs for HIV.
Yes.
The question that I really had was under the Ministry of Health currently.
Minister of Finance, the point about it is we are taking the questions as per the persons as recorded here, so that I have no way of knowing. It's not that we're dealing with items as heads as we do, or subheads as we do, or sub-items. Okay? Member for Princestown.
Thank you, ma'am. Minister, with respect to the comments you made with respect to the increase in drugs for HIV and the expenditure, the question that I really had under this particular item was that I noticed that the Ministry of Health has started using the rapid HIV home testing kits, but it's only available under the Ministry of Health. I was wondering what was the reason for it not being available throughout only under Ministry of Health, and whether or not this particular rapid HIV home testing contributed to the increase in terms of determining persons who were actually infected.
May I ask what other channel you would like to see it be distributed via?
Through the pharmacies that are throughout the country. I was wondering what was preventing pharmacies in Trinidad and Tobago from
Absolutely
having
nothing.
the tests
They
available.
are free. Private enterprise is free to sell HIV rapid testing kits.
And you're confirming that it is utilized as per the website
in the
information,
public healthcare
in the public healthcare system. Okay.
What heading are we on, Madam Speaker? Could I ask?
With the variation under the Ministry of Health.
So we could do all questions on the Ministry of Health. I'm just asking for clarification. okay, on heading 009, item 009, sub-item 04, Regional Health Authority.
Yes.
What I would like to find out, you said that the $26 million is saved because of is decreased because the vacancies not finalized by the recruitment of the Cubans. Could the minister indicate how many local doctors and nurses have not been recruited, and what's the amount that is present, have not been recruited at present?
I'm not going to allow that.
That's
because
not out
the
of order
variations-
here.
I'm not going to allow that. Member for Caroni East.
Yeah, the medical treatment minister of nationals and institutions, there was an active program for doing outpatient surgery in other institutions.
Yes.
And of course, you reduced that expenditure by 20 million. Does it mean that fewer patients were having the elective surgical procedures which were done privately in institutions? Or does it really mean that more have been done within the hospital system?
It's the latter. Under my stewardship and this government's stewardship at the Ministry of Health, we have taken a conscious policy decision to return the public health center to its glory days where it did its work in the public health center. Our two major achievements have been not farming out cataract surgeries to the private healthcare sector. That is one of the reasons for significant savings, as it says there. And also, we are doing more and more elective procedures in-house, like hernias and so on, by having our operating theaters, especially at North Central, Mount Hope, work on a Sunday. So it's a conscious decision by this administration to do more work in-house, because doctors and nurses, when I came in, were clamoring for work, and to stop the farming out to the private healthcare sector.
Yeah, Madam Chair, can I ask one supplemental?
Yes, Member for Caroni.
Honorable Minister, would you be kind enough to consider giving some information on the amount of cases done in-house in the hospitals versus outside in the private institutions for a comparable period?
Sure. Honorable Member, that can be provided.
Member for Faisabad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, 0400905, Southwest Regional Health Authority, 5 million, that's the item. And I refer you to the last line of the explanation. The use of overtime was also more efficiently managed.
Yes.
And my question there is, how has this affected the provision of medical services after hours, after 4 p.m. and on weekends, especially in terms, for example, of SMO, specialist medical cover, ward rounds, and so on the weekend?
Absolutely not negatively. And the proof of this, Honorable Member, and I'm glad you asked that. As a former chairman of Southwest and a former Minister of Health, there would always be a shortage of bed space after Christmas and New Year's, when people go off their diets and don't take their medication after Christmas and New Year's. Every Minister of Health has been faced with that, and it will make the papers. Do you realize this year, for the first time in maybe a decade, you have not had a shortage of bed space post the New Year's Christmas period? It is because the same SMOs are working and discharging patients so we can create space. So it has not affected negatively at all.
Madam Chairman, although this involves one of my members, this is not a debate. This is the Finance Committee.
Member for Faisabad.
Too much fruitcake and pastel.
Minister, I did not want to go down that road, but can you then provide an explanation as to why over the weekend there was 52 patients waiting for beds in the casualty for more than 24 hours? I'm sorry, that doesn't qualify.
Right. Okay. Member for Kumuto Manzanilla.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, line item 09005-060-250. Can you advise or give an explanation as to what were the procurement challenges faced with this program?
Which program are you speaking to?
That is the Health Services Support Program.
Oh, the Health Services Support Program had to be front-loaded for year one with administrative staff. So as the note says, you had to get your administrative staff going. You had to do all terms of reference to comply with 2 sets of procurement rules. One, IDB rules in Washington and locally. So what is going to happen now is that after we have gotten over that hump in year one, we are now ready to roll in year 2 with some significant projects. One, the diabetes and pregnancy project, where we, for the first time in Trinidad and Tobago, all pregnant women in our public healthcare system will be tested for diabetes and treated for diabetes if they develop gestational diabetes. It was never done as a national project. 2, the provision of exercise and gym equipment for our children because we have a childhood obesity problem. We are going to be setting up once and for all a proper registry for NCDs, including cancers. So all these projects are ready to go, and that is why in the first year it was front-loaded administratively, but now it will be done now with actually spending money on goods and projects.
Member for Barataria-Sanwan.
Minister, I see that you have, there's something where they could not finalize a suitable supplier for the provision of a virtual library.
Yes.
The only thing about it, the Ministry of Health website, there's InfoMed, which is a virtual library. Could you give me, what are you looking for as a supplier?
We had some IT challenges with that member. I am not fully cognizant of the details, but I can get it for you. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Member for Caroni East.
Yeah, Honorable Minister, let me direct you to line item 0400905. The issue of you eliminated cost inefficiencies in the acquisition of medical supplies. But there had been a clamor all along for the shortage of certain medical equipment for doing particular surgical procedures. Could you give us a little explanation about the shortage versus what you're saying?
Could you tell me exactly what shortage you're speaking about?
Well, some of them complained that they were not getting the hip, for the hip and the knee and so on for the equipment. That's it.
Yeah,
keeping with this.
Which item are we on?
0400905 Southwest Regional Health Authority.
Madam Chairman.
Million.
Madam Chairman.
That's the line item.
May I make a point here, Madam Chairman? The explanation given for the saving is elimination of cost inefficiencies, not provision of or non-provision of equipment and supplies. It is elimination of cost inefficiencies.
It is in the acquisition of medical supplies I am speaking about, Minister. If you read further on, is in the acquisition of medical supplies. So I'm asking the question related to the acquisition of medical supplies. You are seeing part of the center.
Can we have some order, please? Ask the
Which I'm
question.
sure he is willing to explain.
Just ask the question. Let me hear the question, member.
Because of the clamor that we have been hearing for the inability to have certain medical supplies at certain institutions, how has this affected that?
And you.
But what is said is here, and we are 040000905.
Yes.
Okay? It's with a view to eliminating cost efficiencies in the acquisition of medical supplies, goods, and services.
Was it to the detriment of the inability to secure or procure certain supplies to us to not have certain patients get surgical procedures done? And I'm sure you will answer that.
And the answer is no. What we did with orthopedics, I made a statement in the Parliament during my budget speech of 2016.
Yeah, I heard you mention that.
About the cartel that operated with orthopedics.
But there were
and we have now corrected that.
But there are many other issues, many other medical supplies which were needed and were not obtained.
Do you know one of the reasons why some patients don't get their hip transplants or knee transplants?
Chairman, as I indicated, this is not a debate.
Member,
that's a ruling from your
Minister of Health. I think your initial response would suffice for the purposes of this meeting. Member for Faisabad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, I just want to draw your attention. The waiting list for surgery, 7,009,004,007. in reference to cardiac surgery, can you give us the number of patients that were done in-house? I'm talking at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences
Sure, I'll get that for you.
And secondly, a patient who's awaiting cardiac surgery normally comes to the ministry for approval.
Correct.
How was the allocation done? So are you considering Eric Williams as a provider in a sense compared to the other providers that you use?
Under this item. Member for Tabaquit.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, under this very item, waiting list for surgery, I would like to know, despite what the minister is saying, that specific surgical procedures were increased due to in-house at the Eric Williams and Son.
All over.
What is the waiting time now for cardiac surgery? What is the waiting time for a patient who comes to the hospital and it's determined that he has to get cardiac surgery? What's the waiting time?
The waiting time varies on a patient-by-patient basis. There is no blanket. It depends on the condition of the patient. As you know, whether he's ready for surgery, whether his diabetes is under control. So there are a lot of factors that determine how soon a patient can get their surgery. Also, the provision of certain details to the social worker. What we have found is that some patients are not always forthright with the information we ask for at the social worker level. So there's a variety of reasons.
This is not a debate, I say again. Yes, I know. It's my member, I know that.
All right, so in terms of the item and the explanation, what we are told is, and the item is waiting list, and we've been told the explanation with respect to the decrease. Member for Barataria, San Juan.
Minister, I saw there's an increase in the amount of cardiac surgery in the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex. So you had a savings of, I think, was $7 million waiting list. Could you indicate how much of those cardiac surgery cases were done by the in-house team of cardiac surgery, not the Caribbean Healthcare?
I can get that for you.
Please do.
Member for Faisaban.
Thank you, Madam. Minister, just to refer to 09000506,
yes.
Hospital Refurbishment Program, and just to ask, when is the expected start and completion date for the roof repairs on the labor ward at the San Fernando Hospital?
At the labor ward of San Fernando, I'll get that for you. But it's ongoing? Ongoing.
So just the completion date.
Member for Caroni East.
Yeah. Well, the minister gave a part answer to the question, but the next one will be line item 06C250, which is under that, which is the health services support program of 10 million. You reduced it. But you said that you weren't able to spend this money because of project delays arising from procurement challenges and so on. Could you give a slight explanation on that?
Sure. I said I gave that already.
That was given already.
That was done.
Above that, just a while ago.
No. That was given, I'm almost certain, in response to a question asked from Kabutu Mansinilla.
All right, I will abide by that.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 28, Ministry of Health, be decreased by the sum of $211 million. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 28, Ministry of Health, has been varied by a decrease in the sum of $211 million. Thank you to the Minister of Health and the members of his team. Head 31, Ministry of Public Administration and Communications. Head 31, Ministry of Public Administration and Communications. A decrease of $61,161,666. I will now invite the Minister of Public Administration to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Ministry of Public Administration is charged with the responsibility for the development and modernization of the public sector. Additionally, the ministry has responsibility for the National ICT Plan for all government ministries. Madam Chair, the Ministry of Public Administration and Communications was realigned on June the 7th, 2018 to the Ministry of Public Administration and the Ministry of Communication. Therefore, the allocation for the period June 7, 2018 to September 30, 2018 has to be transferred to the Ministry of Communication. So in other words, Madam Chair, that $61.1 million would represent the delinking of both ministries. So we now have two ministries standing apart from each other.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 31, Ministry of Public Administration and Communications, be decreased by the sum of $61,161,666. Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 31, Ministry of Public Administration and Communications, be decreased by the sum of $61,161,666. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 31, Ministry of Public Administration and Communications, has been varied by a decrease in the sum of $61,161,666. I wish to thank the Minister of Public Administration and her team. Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities. Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, a decrease of $62 million. I will now invite the Minister of Public Utilities to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Public Utilities is responsible for the provision of quality utility services to the population of Trinidad and Tobago. The Ministry has been working with all the utility agencies to fulfill, under its span of control, to fulfill that mandate and to improve the efficiency and customer service delivery, whilst dealing with legacy issues pertaining to the infrastructure. Our underlying principle, of course, is trying to do more with less. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have on the decrease of the $62 million to the ministry.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, be varied by a decrease in the sum of $62 million. Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, in the explanation for the reduction or decrease by $62 million, indicated here that there's the rationalization of its engagement of contractor labor. What is this rationalization of contractor labor?
There's been a reduction and a rationalization of the number of external contractors. For example, we have reduced the number of contractors that we have that were conducting ground maintenance by about 116. We have reduced the number of contractors doing pipeline maintenance by 124. We have reduced the rental fleets by 101, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the types of reductions that we have put in place to try to do more with less.
Supplemental member for
Thank you. Thank you, Madam
West.
Chair. The reduction of the ground maintenance, the pipeline contractors, and the rentals, indicating 116, 124, 101. Is there monies owed to these contractors by the Water and Sewage Authority?
Well, there is an outstanding accounts payable. Those particular contractors, I can't specifically say whether they are in those areas. But of course, the authority runs with an accounts payable position. But I can't specifically say if those exact contractors, whether or not we have money outstanding to them.
Could you undertake, Honourable Minister, with your leave, Madam Chair, to provide a listing of the contractors so removed from the system?
Noted.
Member for Miaro.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Minister, I take note of the $62 million reduction, and when you look at that compared to the amount of outstanding repair works and even road resurfacing works that is there today, even in several constituencies? Is there a direct relation between that backlog and the fact that you have reduced this 100 and change contractors that could work towards reducing that, that backlog?
No, I think you remember that the objective of reducing those contractors is really about utilizing the workers that we have at WASA. So a lot of the ground maintenance, for example, that was being given out to external contractors is now being undertaken by the staff that we have at WASA to do those types of work. The last repair work that we did in fixing leaks and so forth is now utilizing the WASA in-house crew and trying to get more efficiency out of the existing workforce.
Miaro?
Thank you for that response, Minister, but I'm looking at the delay, and we're experiencing a lot of delays still, and one would think that, you know, the efficiency that you are asking for based on by removing the contractor, is WASA realizing that efficiency at this time?
Well, by virtue of the $62 million, yes, we are realizing some of the efficiency, I would say so. But again, it is very difficult to continue to you have to pay staff, you have your salaries to pay, and you have staff on board. And therefore, the effort, this is within the context of allowing the existing staff that we have at WASA to get them, be more efficient, and get out there and do the work that was previously being outsourced.
Thank you. Chair. Minister, you had earlier said that there are 2,000 workers in excess of the requirements of WASA. And now you're saying you're using in-house labor to do the repair works. These 2,000 persons that you deemed excess at WASA, are these the persons who are now being used to do this in-house work, to the repair or leaks and so on? And if so, how efficient are they? Where are these people? What skills do they have to do this work? Because the public is noting that there are more leaks, there are more unrepaired areas where you have done work, and it's shoddy.
Okay, to start with, my statement regarding the numbers of the 2,000 workers that were over, I always said, I also always preface that statement with two things. One, based on international standards, and two, I've also made the point that in WASA's existing circumstances, that you also need to bring that into context.
Chairman, as I indicated with the Minister of Health, this is not a debate. The information given here is clear. I would like a ruling on that, please. Madam Chairman, can we deal with the matter at hand, which is the Standing Finance Committee, and the reduction in expenditure, please?
Okay, so honorable members, we have certain rules by which we are governed in this procedure. And the specific items and the specific explanations given with respect to the items are what are here on the inquiry. So that going outside of that is really above and beyond the committee's remit. So that while I will give some leeway, this is not a carte blanche inquiry process. It is very specific and very narrow. Okay? So, member for Tabakit, if you wish to an opportunity to ask another question within the ambit of what is here, I'll allow.
Sure. Mr. Minister, you said 124 contractors were relieved or demobilized with respect to the maintenance of grounds. You said 116 contractors were demobilized with respect to the maintenance of lines and so on. What you have really then done is sent home a lot of workers indirectly through these contractors. Now, the question I'm going to ask you is, are you satisfied that this level of demobilization has resulted in efficiency or inefficiency?
Member, again, this is what it says. The statement says that is allowed for more efficient processes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Member for Barataria Sanwan.
Could the minister indicate if part of this savings that you got from WASA had the Nutrimix discount in it?
What? Madam, that question is completely out of order.
I think, just now. Member for Barataria Sanwan, just like when you said you knew it was 3 questions and not 2, I saw room. Member for Oropuch East.
Much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm about finance and figures. To the Minister of Public Utilities, taking note of the decrease of $62 million from the ministry, and in the context where there are areas in my constituency like Debe, Diggity, Mohis Road, Kuchawan Trace, and so on, without water on a regular basis, could you not have used some of that to provide water for human beings?
Well, the reason why some of the areas in Trinidad and Tobago do not have a regular supply of water, all right, goes beyond
project.
It's about water production issues. It's about drilling wells issues. All right. There are a number of issues surrounding why people are not getting particular water. In this case, what we have been attempting to do in this savings that we are having, again, and I just mentioned 2 of the areas, I also mentioned the whole idea of reducing the fleet of vehicles and so forth. We are attempting to try to run WASA as efficiently as possible. That is where we recognize there were ways, like, as I said, the rental of vehicles, even the cell phones, trying to manage all those costs. And as a result of that, we have been able to realize some of these savings.
Ma'am, could I have a follow-up?
Sorry, Prime Minister. Sorry.
Yes.
A follow-up question.
Thank you so much, Minister, for your concern. But might I add that when we inquire of WASA as to the reasons why residents in certain communities are not provided with at least a weekly or fortnightly supply of water, we are told that there are projects that require enlarging the infrastructure, the pipelines, and other old infrastructure. And while I appreciate the saving money on phone call and so on, could you not have used this money for those type of projects? Because in times gone by, certain areas received at least a fortnightly supply of water, and that money could have been used for those type of projects.
Again, the issues regarding water production and getting the increased levels of service to other particular areas centers around the execution of some of our plans in the PSIP and those capital expenditure budgets, and we are executing those particular plans. This savings relate to the use, the better, more efficient use of our labor that we presently have, and other savings that we are seeing within the company, rationalizing and trying to do more with less by cutting certain areas. The situation, again, there's a bigger discourse as to why each particular area has not gotten water, and we inherited a situation whereby some of those areas we inherited getting water 1 day a week.
Madam Chairman, again, can I ask for your ruling? This is not a debate. We are dealing with simply the use of contract labor as opposed to in-house labor.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, in the explanation for the decrease by 62 million, well, basically the suppression, you indicated that there's more efficient processes in the procurement of goods and services. Now, it has been brought to my attention that the basic valves and plugs and so on for leak repair is not available. And the last set that was done on the previous People's Partnership government, when that was exhausted, there is no existing supply. Couldn't this money have been utilized for that purpose?
Well, Member Ganga Singh, the information that I have, again, I know you are always privy to information from WASA, but the information that I have does not substantiate what you are actually saying. And therefore, why WASA does have the necessary tools and the necessary equipment to execute the repairs that they're required to execute.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam, to the Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, I've taken note that WASA has engaged in a new social media campaign. Can the Minister indicate whether, as part of the savings reflected here, whether a contract to an alleged bigot and racist associated with the PNM...
Member for Princestown.
Madam Chairman.
Member for Princestown.
Madam
Member for Princestown. Okay? I'm not going to allow that question. Okay? And member for Princestown, I just caution you, certain words I'm not going to allow. Okay? Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honourable Minister, in talking about savings, one of the reasons you gave there was $1 million.
Member for Shogunas East, please. Member for Princestown. Member for Princestown. Member.
Could we get some order, please, madam?
Member for Princestown. Member for Princestown. If you're finding difficulty in maintaining yourself, I've always advised a little walk helps. All right? Please restrain yourself. And member for Couva. Member for Couva.
Come on, what's going on here? We need order in here.
Member for Couva. For South. Anything that you find is not acceptable, your process is to raise it with the chair. Not to speak out as if we are in the market. And member for Couva South. Member for Couva South. When I hear, I speak. I've heard you. And I'm saying it's not at all to be tolerated. Member for Couva South, you either have my ear now or you don't have my ear. Do you have a question to ask? Do you have a question to ask? Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, be decreased by the sum of $62 million. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, has been varied by a decrease in the sum of $62 million. Thank you, Minister of Public Utilities and your team. Head 40, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries. Head 40, member for Princestown. Member for Princestown. When you leave here with a certain decorum, or you'll be assisted in leaving. Head 40, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, a decrease of $100 million. I will now invite the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes.
Thank you very, very much, Madam Chairman.
Minister.
As is publicly known, the Ministry of Energy, in conjunction with the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, is responsible for the formulation of energy policy for the island. We are also, under the Petroleum Act and regulation, the regulator of the industry. Basically, the ministry is a collector of revenue in the form of some taxes and royalties. Most goes to the consolidated funds, to the Ministry of Finance. Our budget, based on what we do in this country, is very small, both on the operating side and on the capital side. We have a decrease listed here of $100 million, and I'm willing to entertain any questions regarding that decrease.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 40,
Why wasn't paid?
Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries being varied by a decrease in the sum of $100 million. Member for Naparima.
Madam Chair, Minister, the budget was premised on an oil price of $65 per barrel.
Budget was premised on an oil price of $52.
It's 52?
That's last year's budget.
2019 budget?
This is 18.
All right. Well, 2018 budget was $52 per barrel. But the price of oil, the WTI price is 50, has been somewhat less. It has been somewhat less. Should this reduction in oil price, which should be reflected in the price at the pump, be not given to the customers?
Madam Chairman, questions about the current financial year are out of order. This is a reconciliation closing of the accounts for fiscal 2018, which ended on the 30th of September 2018. Not, it is irrelevant what's happening in January 2019.
Minister, a member of Naparima, could you ask another question?
Minister, in 2019, any
Chairman, is out of order. The year 2019 is out of
Member
order.
for Naparima. Member for Naparima, we are dealing with a shortfall in the subsidy of $100 million for fiscal year 2018, which ran from September 1st of October 2017 to the 30th of September 20.
All right. Could the minister, could the minister give us an idea of the extent of the subsidies that was budgeted and how much was actually provided?
Well, actually, the original budget had zero allocation for subsidies. In the mid-year review, $100 million was allocated. By the end of the year, there was some subsidy exposure, but at the end of the year, we had deferred spending that for the completion of a reconciliation exercise. And it will be picked up in this year sometime.
Member for Caroni East.
Yeah, Minister, this $100 million non-payment is in the context of what sort of payment you made for petroleum products 2018. What was the total amount of subsidies you paid versus $100 million?
Well, we're doing a reconciliation.
Was
it answered to the
I'm sure it was
reconciliation?
asked in a different way, but I'm sure the answer the minister just gave covers what was being.
I asked for the value of the amount of money that was paid for petroleum product subsidies. If you have $100 million, Madam Speaker, I'm just asking.
Member for Caroni East, I'm not going to allow the question. Member for Barataria Sanwan.
Just, Minister, could you tell me exactly to whom were these subsidy payments owed?
The subsidy ends up being paid to Petrotrin. It is paid through NP and Unipet for onwards transmission into Petrotrin.
To Petrotrin. So Petrotrin did not get the money then?
Well,
$100 million.
The $100 million, I said there's a reconciliation exercise.
No, we were supposed to pay to Petrotrin.
Yeah.
And they have not gotten that money.
A reconciliation exercise is.
So now that you wind up Petrotrin, how are you going to get the money?
Well, there's still a Petrotrin in law, you know.
Madam Chairman, that's out of order and Petrotrin is still in existence.
In existence.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 40, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries be decreased by the sum of $100 million. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 40, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, has been varied by a decrease in the sum of $100 million. Thank you, Minister. Thank you to the members of your team. Head 42, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government. Head 42, Ministry of Rural and Local Government, a decrease of $8 million. I will now invite the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Madam Speaker, I am here to discuss the decrease in the appropriation for the Rural Development Ministry as it relates to the item of TT Connect, which is no longer under the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government and has been transferred to the Ministry of Public Administration. This allocation was $8 million, and for the financial year 2017 to 2018, the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government made all the necessary payments for TT Connect. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 42, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, be varied by a decrease in the sum of $8 million. Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 42, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, be decreased by a sum of $8 million. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 40, Ministry of Rural, Head 42, Head 42, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, be varied by a decrease in the sum of $8 million. Thank you, Honorable Minister, and the members of your team. Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport. Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, a decrease of $44 million. I will now invite the Minister of Works and Transport to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Ministry of Works and Transport is responsible for providing public infrastructure and transportation for the social and economic development of Trinidad and Tobago. We see ourselves as responding to the basic needs of the population. The Ministry of Works and Transport, in keeping with Government National Development Strategy 2016-2030, Vision 2030, under the Team 3, improving productivity through quality infrastructure and transportation, continues to focus its efforts on road construction, traffic management, and restoration and maintenance of government buildings and facilities. The Ministry intends to provide safe and efficient transportation and infrastructure, which we are considered to be the backbone of any economic and the key driver for social and economic development. Madam Chairman, I stand ready to answer any questions.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, be varied by a decrease in the sum of $44 million. Member for Caroni East.
Honorable Minister, as explained here, funding was allocated in fiscal 2018 to enable the TT Spirit to undergo 2 routine dry docking services. However, the vessel was only placed once on dry dock, and this resulted in a saving of $15 million. Could you explain why this happened? Only 1 dry docking situation took place rather than 2 for the TT Spirit?
True. Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, there was a typo there. There was 2 dry docking scheduled, 1 for the TT Spirit and 1 for the Express. The TNT Spirit went under the dry docking. However, a cabinet decision was taken to sell the TNT Express as and where is. So no dry docking was scheduled for the TNT Express.
Member for Orupuchis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up on that. Could you indicate when the cabinet decision was taken to sell the TNT Express and the arrangements in place for the sale of that particular vessel? And secondly, if I could just ask 2 questions one time so that you could respond. Minister, again, my position holds that this approach of saving money by doing nothing, for example, in your ministry, could you not have used this money to pave or clean water courses to prevent flooding, for example? Since the monies are already approved by Parliament for the use by your ministry, you have priorities. Clearly flooding is a priority, prevention of flooding and so on. Could this not have been used to do critical infrastructure work to at least alleviate flooding in the Debe area, for example, where a river needs paving just a few hundred yards? And this kind of money that was already allocated to your ministry could have been used for that, rather than this approach of saving money by doing nothing.
Okay, so I'll allow the question on the date of the
Sure.
decision. I'm not allowing the question about the arrangements for the sale for the purposes of this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, a cabinet decision was taken sometime last year for the sale of the Express. I don't have the exact date. However, it was to be sold by the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, where the Port Authority would have worked with the Central Tenders Board to put an ad in the newspaper for public advertisement for the sale of the TNT Express. It was done in collaboration with the Central Tenders Board. Thank you.
You have another question, member? Okay, member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you. Just similar to the question asked by the member for Orpish East, Madam Chair, having regard to the nature of the flooding and having regard to what we experienced last year, in that could not have money been utilized, for example, on the Caroni River to do dredging and desilting our embankments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, the long and short of answer to it is that 15 million is what we are speaking about.
Yeah.
The cost of the dry docking and the amount that we got was significantly more than 15 million. A lot of it was utilized in other areas. However, there is a process to move money, and there's a limited time. But a significant amount was moved and used in some of those exact areas that you're speaking about. But unfortunately, because of the process to move money, it is not just that the minister could say, I'm taking this from here and spend it here. We have to go back to finance, we have to get money, we have to apply to have the money move in different areas. So yes, some of it was used. Unfortunately, because of the process, there was some hindrance in utilizing all.
Yeah, just for my purposes of clarity, Madam Chair, could you provide a listing of the monies that were used,
sure,
in particular with respect to the flooding issue?
Well, again, it would have been used in different areas. I'm not saying it would have been used.
Provide the listing of the different areas.
And for the purposes of this process, the minister has given an answer. I don't know that this is something that is relevant for the process, the providing of the listing.
Thank you.
Member for Barrett area, Sanwan.
Minister, I just wonder, the Prime Minister is on record saying that the Galleons Passage will be used for the Toco to Tobago port, and because it cannot run the sea as it is at present. Why not keep also the TNT Express for that same run?
The question is, why not keep the TNT Express for the Toco run?
As they are keeping the Galleons Passage.
We're not talking about the Galleon Passage.
Yeah.
So you want to know why not keep the TT Express?
Madam Chair, the long and short answer for the keeping the TNT Express, between 2010 and 2015, the maintenance on that vessel was so bad that the vessel, to repair that vessel now, will be a significant cost to the taxpayers. And because of the age of the vessel, there's no guarantee that after you spend all that money, that the vessel will give you any more lifespan.
Could I get a supplemental?
Sure.
No, it's not. Is the TNT Spirit being used now for the Tobago run?
Yes, it is.
Therefore, there's nothing wrong with it?
We're talking about the Express is the one.
Sorry, the Express. Is it Express, sorry?
No, it is not.
It's not been,
No.
okay, thanks.
No.
Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, with respect to the 35 new buses that you acquired, what will that take your complement of buses up to, and will you still have a deficit, and by how much?
Yes. Madam Chair, the full complement to give PTSC all the routes that is required is close to 500 buses. What PTSC have at this point in time operating is just about 260 buses. So the 25 buses will, yes, it will help the fleet, but it will in no way bring it anywhere close. And that is why Cabinet would have taken a decision to go out there to get a government-to-government agreement for additional 300 buses, because you recognize that most of our buses have way past their lifespan.
Madam Chairman, this is not a debate on the Ministry of Works and Transport. It is on the dry docking of the T&T Spirit. Full stop.
Minister of Finance, if I could assist you, there's also on the Public Transport Service Corporation and particularly on buses.
Just trying something.
No, well, no.
Madam Chair, the minister is misleading.
While I don't mind members trying something on each other, I really don't think a member should say they're trying something on the chair.
Even if you're trying something, don't say it.
Member for Shogunas East.
Since the Minister of Finance wasn't paying attention, Honourable Minister, you are paying attention. And I want to ask, well, how much of that money that you get now are you going to be using to fix buses that are non-operational at the various hubs?
All right, so I will not allow that under the item 43-06-004-52.
Out of order.
All right?
Okay.
Member for Barataria-San.
Minister, could I ask, any of the old buses have been taken out of commission as we speak?
Yes, there is a program where...
No, from what you had before.
Yes.
Have any been taken out?
Yes, every
year. Is that
year,
where the savings on the procurement of the spare parts are taking place?
a significant amount came
Because
from
of
that.
removing the old buses?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
Member for Tabakit.
Thank you. Mr. Minister, you said that the explanation given is that with the acquisition and operationalization of the 35 new buses in 2018, PTSC was able to reduce costs associated with procurement of spare parts and maintenance services, and that's how you saved $29 million.
No, that was a major part of it. Some of it can be attributed to overtime. Some of it can be allocated to oil and fuel, and obviously the new buses would have allowed a significant saving on some of the planned repairs, the other bus, to bring them into line.
So you have 240 buses now that are out of service?
200, yes.
Is it possible that you can provide us with an appreciation of what is this current status of each one of these buses to know whether these buses can be rehabilitated or not?
Madam Chairman.
No, that I can't allow it.
Not only that, this is for the purchase of new buses. Come on.
Okay? And member for Tabakit, I won't allow that question.
And Madam,
member for Oropuch East.
Madam Chair, if I could just correct the statement. I did not say that there were 240 buses not in service. I said they need a complement of 500. We have 260 in service. I did not say that we have 240 down at the moment.
Thank you very much. Member?
Significant, but not 240.
Member for Oropuch East.
Ma'am, the question was asked already.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, be decreased by the sum of $44 million. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, members 18. Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, has been varied by a decrease in the sum of $44 million. Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation be varied by a total decrease in the sum of $586,161,666. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The 2018 appropriation has been varied by a total decrease in the sum of $586,161,666. We now move on to increases. Honorable members, we shall now consider the proposals for increases for fiscal year 2018. Head 18, Ministry of Finance. Head 18, Ministry of Finance, an increase of $517 million. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With the operation of the government's overdraft at the central bank, there is an interest charge that is applied to that overdraft. We had originally allocated approximately $400 million. Let me see if I can get the exact number. We had let's use that figure. We had allocated approximately $400 million to payment of interest on the overdraft, and the payment actually came up to somewhere in the vicinity of $900 million. So we had to find another $517 million to pay overdraft interest charges at the central bank. But there's a very important point which I would like honorable members pay attention to this. Even though the government is required to pay interest on its overdraft, and that's an expense, the money is returned to the government by way of profits from the central bank, because the operational cost of the central bank is not anywhere close to the income they earn from charging interest on the overdraft. And the government gets quite substantial sums in profits from the central bank on an annual basis. So the net cost to the government is far less than this 517 or the $900 million to run the central bank. We get it back.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 18, Ministry of Finance, be varied by an increase in the sum of $517 million. Member for Caroni Central.
Yes, Minister of Finance, could you indicate what is the extent of the central bank overdraft at this time on which we are paying this interest?
I beg your pardon?
What is the extent of the central bank overdraft on which we are paying
this is why
on which we have paid this?
This is why I begged your pardon, because is that as of today? What are you talking about? This is fiscal year 2018.
Yes, well.
So what are you talking about?
What was the extent of the central bank overdraft
in fiscal 2018?
Yes, on which this interest was paid.
It would have varied from day to day, so I'll provide that information to you in writing.
Can I ask whether the ceiling for the overdraft at the central bank was in 2018 the same as it is now?
Madam Chairman?
Well, I think a member for Caroni Central, the questions would really have to be limited to 2018.
Okay. Can you tell me, Minister of Finance, what was the ceiling of the central bank overdraft in 2018?
Madam Chairman, the ceiling, the overdraft ceiling, is in the public domain. We don't answer questions that are in the public domain. It's in the law. You debated that.
Well,
go and check the law.
I am sure if the minister doesn't answer now, it will come up in the debate.
Yes. It's part of the public law.
But I wanted to establish for the public record and for the public information how much the overdraft we were paying interest was in 2018, and we can find the figure for 2019. And secondly, I wanted to know what the ceiling was. And the third issue is, when was that ceiling established?
Madam Chairman, I repeat that we came to Parliament and we modified, amended the ceiling for the overdraft by way of debate. That is a matter of public record and a matter of public law, and the member for Caroni Central participated quite significantly and had a lot to say in that debate, so that the answers probably contained within the Hansard record of the member for Caroni Central.
Chair, might I just explain that when we have these sessions, the idea is to give the public information?
Really?
And
Minister of Finance, Minister of Finance, the member is allowed a certain time on every intervention. Please
And the questions that I've asked was in order to give public information to the population of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you. Member for Caroni Central.
Caroni East.
Member for Caroni East.
Minister, this sum of $517 million, which represents interest on the overdraft with the central bank, that's $517 million in interest. What percentage does that represent? What is the interest rate?
Percentage of?
The interest rate by central bank.
Madam President,
on a day-to-day basis.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, Madam Chairman, sorry. That is also a matter of public record.
Well, tell us. Is it 2%, 5%, 7%?
That is in the, that is in.
So you pay $555 million and you don't know the interest rate?
I didn't say that, Madam.
Well, tell us.
I said that is a matter of public record.
Well, tell us the public record now. You're given an opportunity to answer the question.
Madam,
why are you hiding?
This meeting, Madam Chairman, as far as I know,
continue to
is to
hide,
seek
Madam.
clarification, Madam Chairman. Could I be allowed to speak? This meeting is to provide clarification on the explanation given. We have explained that the reason for the increase in 517 million is that there was an insufficient allocation to pay interest on the overdraft.
Member for Point Appeal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister, Minister, you had previously said you had the amount allocated was approximately $400 million, and now you're asking for an additional increase of 517 to take it up to 917. Could you explain to me what was the reason that the overdraft incurred this additional amount of interest over that period of time?
Madam Chairman, the overdraft didn't incur an additional amount of interest. As in any year, there are certain appropriations made to certain ministries, and they are varied. The whole purpose of this Standing Finance Committee is to debate the Variation of Appropriation Bill, which we'll be doing at the end of this week. And the budget is never cast in concrete. There are always adjustments during the fiscal year. So that was the original allocation. It was anticipated at the time that we would not have to utilize the overdraft to that extent. However, for one reason or another, during the year, we had to utilize the overdraft to a particular extent, causing for increased allocation in this particular line item.
Member for Tabakid.
Well, my question, Madam Chair, was asked in part by the member for Point Appeal. But the Honourable Minister, when you allocated $400 million as interest, it had to have been on a proper supposition that you were going to use a certain amount in the overdraft, and your budget would have been based on that. Now that you are asking for 517 million more, obviously you have utilized much more of the overdraft. In fact, you have probably doubled the amount of the overdraft that you had anticipated you would use. Is it possible for you to enlighten us as to where that money was utilized in terms? Was it recurrent expenditure? Was it capital? What did you use it for that caused you to significantly increase the interest, to pay interest by 517 million?
The extent of overutilization. Madam Chairman, we in Trinidad and Tobago have been operating a deficit budget for a number of years. Madam Chairman, the member for Naparima is disturbing my response to the member for Tabakid. We in Trinidad and Tobago have been operating a deficit budget now for a number of years. The deficit is the difference between income and expenditure. It's as simple as that. And the deficit is financed, whether it is 2 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion, whatever it is. The deficit is financed in a variety of ways. It's financed through borrowing. It's financed through withdrawals from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund and so on. Even the borrowing is done in a variety of different ways. The government has the option to go to the market, issue a request for proposals, and invite proposals from the commercial banks to finance the deficit. The government also has the option to utilize temporary advances from the government overdraft to finance the budget in terms of cash flow. So it's simply a financing mechanism. What is good about the use of the overdraft is that, as I said, the central bank does not utilize the full amount of the interest that it earns on the overdraft for its expenditure, to run the central bank, to pay its wages and salaries, to pay costs of goods and services, accommodation, etc. That's what's good about utilizing the overdraft, so that you get back a substantial percentage of whatever interest you pay on the overdraft back as profits from the central bank. And in fact, we just got substantial sum back from the central bank just a couple of weeks ago, which assists us with our cash flow. So it's really a timing issue and a cash flow issue.
Member for Tabakit.
Is the minister therefore suggesting that the deficit might have been much higher than what was anticipated, that brought about the use of this extra amount from the overdraft that caused this 517 million?
No. What I'm saying is that it's cash management. You can use the overdraft, you can go to the market to borrow, you can withdraw from the Heritage Fund. These are decisions made at the Ministry of Finance in our best judgment to get the least cost option, the most cost-effective option to financing the budget and financing the budget deficit. Okay?
Member for Naparima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could the minister indicate whether the use of the overdraft facility at the central bank is consistent with the historic usage, particularly in the past 3 or 4 years, to give us a sense of whether there has been consistency over the years during our period and your period?
Madam Chairman, we're dealing with fiscal 2018. I don't
Yeah,
know
well, 2018.
I don't know why the members asked me about his period. We're dealing with fiscal 2018.
Madam Speaker, could the minister indicate whether the use of the overdraft facility, how does it compare with 2070, previous year?
But that is not before us.
Come on, man.
Let's go
on. Member for Point of Peer.
Thank you. One final question
to the Minister. It is not before.
Minister, in your enlightenment of explanation, you also had said that the central bank, the 517 was the overdraft interest, and you normally would incur profits from the central bank.
You don't incur profits.
Well, you get profits.
You receive
profits. You receive profits. Okay? So, can I ask you,
rephrase your question.
So you said you receive profits from the central bank in respect to the
May we have some order? Please, I can't hear.
Could I ask you...
Member for Point of Peer, 1 minute. Could we have order? Please, I'm not hearing the member for Point of Peer. Member for Point of Peer.
So, Madam Chair, the Minister of Finance said he received profits from the central bank in relationship. All right. So, could you state for us what sort of profits you would have received from the central bank at the end of fiscal year 2018 in relationship? Because you said, even though it was an expenditure, you would have received profits that would more than offset this expenditure from the central bank.
I did not say that. We are dealing with fiscal 2018. It is after the fiscal year is completed, the central bank would pay the profits in the subsequent fiscal year, which is not before us.
Okay.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 18, Ministry of Finance, be increased by the sum of $517 million. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Head 18, Ministry of Finance, has been varied by an increase in the sum of $517 million. Thank you, Minister of Finance and your team. Head 70, Ministry of Communication. Head 70, Ministry of Communications, an increase of $69,161,666. I will now invite the Minister of Communications to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, in June of last year, there was a separation of communications out of the Ministry of Public Administration and Communication and the creation of a standalone ministry called the Ministry of Communication. So this sum of money is the money that was transferred from public admin and communication to help fund the establishment of the Ministry of Communication. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 70, Ministry of Communications, be increased by the sum of $69,161,666. Member for Faisabad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, if I can refer you to page 31 with regards to CNMG, page 31. This is on the schedule.
No, Madam Chairman, the schedule is for noting.
Yes.
It's not for debate or for answering questions. It's for noting. That has nothing to do with this head, Madam Chairman. This head is the creation of the Ministry of Communications. Has nothing to do with what is for noting. I want to make that point very clear for your ruling, Madam.
Can I?
Yes, ask the question. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask the allocation for CNMG, whether
Just
that
1 minute.
was...
Let me hear the question, Minister. Member.
Yeah, the question really was whether the amount of $12,485,000 listed for CNMG was for the transformation to TTT.
Madam Chairman.
Okay, so, and therefore, member for Faisabad, I can't allow that question. Member for Naparima.
Minister, state in how this $69 million, in what areas will it be disbursed?
Right. Minister of Communications.
Madam Chair, this is historic. This was for fiscal 2018, so it would have already been accounted for in the budget that went through in October 2019. Line item by line item, actual expenditure.
We did a finance committee on that. Could the minister indicate, if he's aware, how much of the $69 million was allocated to CNMG?
If he's, it wasn't for Ken Ali, it wasn't for Tony Dial, it wasn't for The Voice, it wasn't for Marcia Braveboy, it wasn't for Philip Alexander, it wasn't for...
It was for one Alexander place?
It was none of... We'll have to provide that.
All right, so can we get serious?
We're very serious.
Any other question? Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation for Head 70, Ministry of Communications, be increased by the sum of $69,161,666. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 70, Ministry of Communications, has been varied by an increase in the sum of $69,161,666. Thank you to the Minister and his team. Honorable members, the question is that the 2018 appropriation be varied by a total increase in the sum of $586,161,666. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The 2018 appropriation has been varied by a total increase in the sum of $586,161,666. We now go on to write-off of losses. Honorable members, we shall now proceed to the consideration of the proposals for write-off of losses. Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development. Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development, a write-off of losses of $134,644.03. I will now invite the Minister of Labor and Small Enterprise Development to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you kindly, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, the team and I from the ministry, we are really honored to be here this afternoon to discuss the variation of appropriation for fiscal year 2018-2019. Madam Chair, permit me to say that this government has stated time and time again that it is committed to the effective management of the public sector. In fact, Madam Chair, Team 2 of our National Development Strategy 2017-2030, popularly known as Vision 2030, is dedicated to delivering good governance and service excellence, under which one of our goals is for public service to have modern, effective, and efficient management system. Madam Chair, this administration has recognized that good governance and service excellence are crucial to the achievement of a high quality of life for all of our citizens and to encourage business expansion. In this regard, one of the guiding principles of our Vision 2030 is accountability. Accountability that ensures that actions and decisions taken are subject to oversight and that public officials are held responsible for the decisions they make and for spending from the public purse. And today, Madam Chair, this is what this exercise is about, the principle of accountability and commitment to good governance and efficient public sector management. Madam Chair, the issue before this gathering is a very simple one, and may I offer the explanation and then would entertain any questions. It pertains to an officer who was unaware, unknowingly received the incorrect allowance as he dutifully served this country at the Commonwealth Caribbean Seasonal Agriculture Workers Program, Labor Liaison Branch in Toronto, Canada, under the former Ministry of Labor and Small and Micro Enterprise Development. The applicable deduction from his salary for the rental of his public quarters was also not made as required. Madam Chair, our own internal audit procedures brought to our attention this error, which amounted to an overpayment, and in an effort to ensure that the ministry acted as a responsible employer and followed the prescribed industrial relations procedures, a legal opinion was sought. Madam Chair, this legal opinion advised that if the allowances in respect of the officer's appointment were never communicated to him in writing prior to the discovery of the error, it would be deemed unreasonable and contrary to good industrial relation practice to blame or penalize the employee for the failure of the employer to properly notify him of the terms and conditions of his employment with respect to his foreign assignment. Madam Chair, in this regard, as a reasonable and caring employer, the Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development is seeking to write off the loss of $134,644.03, representing an overpayment to the former Acting Accounting Executive 1 in the Commonwealth Caribbean Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program, Liaison Branch, Toronto, Canada, under the former ministry. Madam Chair, it is clear that an administrative mistake was made in 2011-2012, but we recognize that to err is human, and this administration is committed to doing what is necessary to correct these errors. It is my hope, Madam Chair, that this matter receives favorable consideration so that it can finally be settled to allow all parties to move forward and for us to focus on good governance, improved service delivery, and value for money through greater efficiency, productivity, and accountability. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honorable members, the question is that a write-off of losses in the sum of $134,644.03 for Head 30, the Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development be approved. Honorable members, the question is that a write-off of losses in the sum of $134,644.03 for Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development be approved. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The write-off of losses in the sum of $134,644.03 For Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development is approved. Thank you, Minister, and the members of your team.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development. Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development, a write-off of losses of $137,536.35. I will now invite the Minister of Planning and Development to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, specifically in relation to this matter, there has been a write-off of overpayment to Messenger 1 Julie Samuel, who during the period 2002 to 2015 was employed at the CSO. Madam Chairman, during this time, she was also, after 2015, she was reassigned to the Human Resource Management Division, and routine checks of the attendance register indicated that from 2006 to 2015, Ms. Samuel had been absent, sometimes without authorization. Madam Chairman, despite verbal advice, Ms. Samuel did not produce any improvement in her conduct, and after the period 2015, Ms. Samuel sought to account for some periods of her absences over the period 2006 to 2015 by submitting medical certificates and reports, which indicated that she was suffering from vertigo, hypertension, and an ear, nose, and throat disorder. She indicated that her illness rendered her unable to perform her duties since she experienced dizziness and fainting spells. After continuous absences and due to illness, this necessitated an examination by a medical board, and on July 8, 2014, she was examined to determine her fitness for further service, and the medical board boarded her in 2016. Madam Chairman, prior to Ms. Samuel's retirement on grounds of ill health, during the period 2008 to 2010, she was paid salary and COLA for her unauthorized absences from duty. And when the revised salary agreement for the period 2008 to 2010 came into effect, the ministry withheld salary arrears in the sum of $9,890.45 in an attempt to reduce the overpayment amount owed to the officer. Aggrieved by this decision to withhold the arrears, the officer approached the PSA, who, acting on her behalf, referred the matter to the industrial court. The industrial court matter started in 2015, and the judge advised the parties, that is, the CPO, the Ministry of Planning and Development, and the PSA to arrive at an amicable agreement, taking into account the negative impact that the period of unauthorized absences would have on Ms. Samuel's years of service and her eligibility for pension, as well as her standard of living after retirement. Arising out of several meetings, and the last meeting held in January 2017 with the Permanent Secretary and the Human Resource Officers of the Ministry of Planning and Development, it was decided, based on humanitarian grounds and Ms. Samuel's inability to repay the sum owed due to her medical costs on her finances, to approach the Comptroller of Accounts for the write-off of Ms. Samuel's overpayment in the sum of $137,536.35. The Comptroller of Accounts agreed, and a note was submitted to the Cabinet, and the Cabinet approved the write-off. And that is why we are before you at this time.
Honorable members, the question is that the write-off of losses in the sum of $137,536.35 for Head 67, the Ministry of Planning and Development, be approved. Honorable members, the question is that the write-off of losses in the sum of $137,536.35 for Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development be approved. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The write-off of losses in the sum of $137,536.35 for Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development is approved. Thank you, Minister, and thank you to the members of your team.
Chairman.
Honorable members, please note that the debate for the adoption of the committee's report will take place on Friday, January 18th, 2019 at 1:30 p.m. This meeting of the Standing Finance Committee is now adjourned.